Welcome to this episode of Just Liberty. I have as my special guest today Professor David Skeel, who holds an endowed chair at the University of Pennsylvania, and who will also be our ad fontes speaker later today. Welcome to Just Liberty.
Thanks so much for having me, Dean Tan.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So you're an expert in things like bankruptcy and banking, which sounds really practical, something that will really, help a lot of people or in corporations and so forth that need it. But you've also been active in terms of Christianity law and that whole movement, as well as intellectually being engaged along those lines. I'd love to hear about the ways that you've been involved and how your Christian faith has fed into what you've done as a law professor.
Sure. It really has been in stages or seasons. So when I first became a law professor in 1990, I was, as I am now, an evangelical Christian. I was completely open about it. I was the advisor to the Christian group. I was at Temple's Law School then, such as the Christian group was. It was very small back then. But I wasn't writing about it. I wasn't really giving talks about it. I really, for the first 10 years or so, 8 to 10 years of my career, focused on being the best law professor I could and to focusing on my teaching, focusing on my writing. But about 8 or 10 years into my career, I became convicted that I should be more public about my faith. Again, I never hid it in any way. The people around me knew I was a Christian, but I thought, at least in the law school setting, I should be more proactive about making sure that folks knew I was a Christian. And so for a couple of years, I would give at least one talk every year where I would talk about Christianity and some issues. Since I'm a business law scholar, it was corporate scandals back in
like Enron and things like that.
Enron and WorldCom.
Okay,
yeah, it was 20 years ago.
Yes.
So that's what I was talking about, and I talked about a little bit about Christianity and American legal education, and not so much about that, I guess, in those talks. It really was more like business law and Christianity. Okay. After that, I ended up getting involved a little bit more in the public policy space because of the corporate scandals, and then more recently because of the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009. And so I was writing more op-eds, and some of those would be about Christianity. And about that same time, actually a couple years before that, I would say, I went from giving talks about Christianity and law to actually writing about Christianity and law. And so this would have been probably 2004, 2005. I started writing more about Christianity and legal issues, wrote a number of law review articles. And then from there, a few years ago, ended up writing a book of pure Christian apologetics, a little book that is talking about how Christianity makes sense of a lot of the puzzles of our existence that the other most prominent view of reality in our culture, which I describe as a science without God kind of perspective on reality, can't really explain. So I kind of went from giving talks to writing, and have ended up writing both about Christianity and law, and some just about Christianity.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. That is the end of our first episode here with David Skeel. We'll be continuing on in episode 2.